Hey there, my name's Steven, and I'm not a mechanic or a YouTuber, but maybe one day I can become one or the other, or both. Today, I'm going to be working on my Honda Shadow Phantom. It's a 2013, and I just bought a new set of bars off of tjbrutalcustoms.com, and they were manufactured by Zombie Performance. If you're thinking about buying one of these bars, maybe this video is for you. So just a little background on how they were delivered. As you can see, they came in a nice, well-packaged box. I already unwrapped it, but the entire handlebars were wrapped in this plastic wrap. So I had to take off the wrapping quite a bit to get a hold of the handlebars. And then these are the two bolts that we'll need for the handlebars to mount them to the current section on the bike. I ended up going with the 10-inch risers. I believe there's an 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch. Based on their online reviews, there was quite a bit of feedback in regards to keeping the stock clutch wire and electrical, the different cablings that are going to have to be remounted onto these bars. I'm optimistic. There was one review that mentioned the 8-inch had plenty of slack still with all of the cabling. So I went 2 inches bigger. We'll see if I run into any issues. These are special order handlebars, so they're not on the shelf just waiting to be shipped out. When you order these, you will have to wait a few weeks depending on the current production kind of volume that Zombie Performance is dealing with. So just keep in mind this won't ship out as a quick ship item, but once they are delivered, it is a high quality build. Well, here's a quick shot of the actual motorcycle. As you can see, it's a Honda Shadow Phantom. This is a 2013. And I actually repurchased this bike. This was my first motorcycle, and ended up going a couple different routes to different motorcycles, but ended up coming back to this platform because it just, for me, it's very reliable, very simple motorcycle, and definitely brings back kind of the feeling that you first get when you first learn how to ride, and just have a good time with it. But as far as the handlebars that come stock, they're the stock handlebars. They're not terrible. They do definitely do the job they're supposed to. But in regards to kind of what I'm looking for, like something a little bit taller, something more kind of just below shoulder length or shoulder length. If I was to sit over the handlebars so you can get an actual feel of what they kind of look like. I'll bring the mic up. So that's kind of where you're at with the handlebars. As far as the measurements, they are just a hair over around 28 inches. I'll do a measurement here just a little bit, but just so you can kind of get a clear view of what those handlebars look like. That's kind of what we're looking at. So we're gonna have to take apart all the different assemblies we have here on the handlebars. We'll go step by step, try to get a full detail of everything that I do to get these handlebars off and the new ones on. So that's gonna be the goal. Again, hopefully don't run into any snags with how tall the new handlebars are, but again, I'm very optimistic. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is take the mirrors off the handlebars. The right side mirror is connected onto the brake reservoir, and the left side mirror is connected, I'll get a closer shot, but it's connected to the clutch handle. So we're going to take the right side off first, and this is a 17 millimeter. Came off, nice and easy. Okay, let's go to the other side. So now we're going to take the left side off. Easy. Next, we're going to unplug these connections here because they're going to need to come off anyways when we disconnect the clutch cable. So I'm just going to basically pull these out right there, right there. So that's the left and right side. I'm not sure which is if they're reverse polarity, so I'm actually going to put a label on them with some painter's tape now, so I know that this goes into the left, that goes into the right. Okay, next this is the clutch cable, clutch handle sections here. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the top and bottom, and I found the 5 millimeter Allen key. See if you can see that. Let's see if I can focus in. Might be able to see it from that far. So it's a 5 millimeter. So I'm going to use the 5 millimeter to disconnect these sections. But I'm gonna basically, just so that I don't lose these bolts, put them back in. So when I go reinstall the handlebars, they're there. So I'm gonna reassemble them right there. And then I'm just gonna rest the clutch cable basically over the turn signal. Okay, so this is the bottom of the left side of the handlebars again. So we're trying to take off the controls. That is the brights, turn signal, and the horn. So we're going to be disconnecting. There's two Phillips screwdrivers, one here and then one there. So once we take these off, this whole thing should come off, and then we're able to again hang this over the handlebars as previously did before. And then this whole assembly should come out now. Something important to note, the screws are two different lengths. So if you see that, two different lengths. The long one is going to be this back section, and then the shorter screw is going to be kind of this front section. So just so you know, if you get them mixed up, the long screw goes in the back, and then the shorter screw goes in the front. And this is the front part of the handlebars. This should now easily just kind of pull apart like that. And I'm not going to separate this because I don't want to redo the wiring or anything like that, but you'll want to put your screws back in. So actually, let me get those screws before so I can kind of hang them on this section. So stand by. It's interesting, this might be a good time to kind of clean out this section on the inside because, for example, my turn signal is kind of, it feels sticky, so it might not be a bad idea to clean that. I won't do that on this video, but something to keep in mind if you're taking this off already. I'm going to try my best to reuse this grip. I don't want to get a new grip. So you'll want to keep this bushing, of course. And then this grip, I saw a video where basically someone will use a flathead screwdriver and they'll put some WD-40 and then you just kind of work around that. I'll try to call out the YouTuber who I was watching. Appreciate his help. It wasn't the exact same bike, but I'm going to try that method so we can get this grip off and then reuse it. There's also some on the handlebars, these wiring sections that I'm going to have to take some zip ties off so that will completely come off. And then I'll show a closer shot of that as well. But yeah, we're almost done with this side. So I'm going to try to get these zip ties off. I think I should just be able to put a flathead inside of here to get them off. If not, I might just break these loose and use some standard zip ties. Oh, I see it actually. It looks like it's a clamp style zip tie coming off of there. I'll have to double check and see how those come out. I don't know if you want to reuse these. You probably won't because they're on these handlebars here. But we shall see. Oh, there we go. So that came off pretty easy actually. So it looks like these kind of just hang over onto this section. So I just put, this inside here and kind of wedged it off what it was holding on to. So it should work the same way on this one. Yep, there we go. So the connection is off. These right here, it looks like, oh yeah, they're welded. They're metal pieces that basically hold these on to the stock controls. But we're not going to worry about that because we're not going to have that on the new bar. So we'll have to figure out a new way to adhere those. So, all right. So now to get this grip off, again, I heard you kind of just put a flathead in here and then kind of wedge it open and put some WD-40 in. So I'm going to kind of wedge this in here. I'm going to squirt some WD-40. I'm going to do the same thing kind of on this side. Let's see if I can do some on this side. And then again, the video I watched, just at that point, you're wanting to kind of just turn this. Oh, okay. So that end cap came off. That's what it looks like. So looks like it kind of slides onto this section of the grip. It's like a bushing that's on here. So that's what it looks like there. To show you on this side, you can hear my dogs in the background. Yeah, so this part here kind of like goes into this sleeve. So I'm going to keep adding some more WD-40 to this part of the grips to kind of get this handlebar off. Kind of putting the screwdriver pretty deep in here just to see if that'll help kind of stretch it out. Oh, there we go. The grip came off, and I'm gonna try to reuse this. So that's awesome. You're gonna need to reuse the bushing as well. This bushing here. It's on the other side of the controls. So we're gonna take that off as well. And that's gonna basically meet up where the controls are. And then you don't forget to get that other piece, which is here. So this is the end there, and then your bushing and your controls go in the center right here. So before I take the brake reservoir and the brake pedal off, there's two connections right here that are probably for the brake light. So I'm going to take those off and then do the same thing as I did with the painter's tape. Because again, I don't know if that's reverse polarity, so I'm going to take that off. Painter tape this front one as front, and there's a rear one I'm going to tape that as rear. So just with an F and an R. So you see if this comes off easy enough. Yep, there it is. So that's the front one right there, and then you got your rear one right there. So that's going to completely come off with the kill switch assembly. And that connects to that throttle housing. But again, I just don't want to put the wrong connection into the wrong area. So just keep that in mind. If that's something you want to do, that'll help. So rear, front, that's all good. Okay, so it looks like there's another zip tie kind of configuration that's being mounted for. Oh, interesting. I actually just figured out how to take these off easier. So that it should just slide off, at least on the back, at least the way it looks like it should. Let me see if I can confirm that. But yeah, so this is part of the brake electrical, I'm assuming. Maybe it's for the kill switch, could be for something else. So maybe someone in the comments, as far as this wire goes, maybe they want to say what that wire is that's next to the kill switch. I'm assuming it has to be the kill switch wiring because these are for the brake, I would only assume. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe it's the opposite. So let me just pop this out. Push this in deeper. And this is probably going to break. Oh, there we go. So, but there's a little notch right. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, this little notch right here. Basically, you should be able to push down on it from behind. Like that, and then it actually slides off this section. Again, if you're switching your bars, I'm not sure why you'd want to save these pieces unless you weld on your own little tiny kind of brackets like this. That seems like a lot of work for me. Again, I'm not a mechanic or a YouTuber, so I would just say that you can break these if you want. Just don't break the wires inside. So that's the idea. So that's disconnected. Now we're going to take off the actual brake lever. Okay, so now we're going to take off the brake connection. That should still be that same 5mm Allen key. So I'm going to start taking that piece off now. There's the bottom. And then that brake should just come off. There it goes. So again, I like to keep my bolts on here because I definitely don't want to lose them. So we're going to push them back through and make sure that they kind of screw in when we go to put them back onto the new bars. Maneuver brake cable. There we go. Kind of just rest it over. See, I'm not a mechanic because I don't even know what this piece is called, but the handlebars mount to. So someone correct me there. Someone teach me something because I am not smart. I know how to ride the motorcycle, and that's about it. So, all right, so now we're going to take the throttle assembly off. Hopefully this comes off nice and easy. It does look like there is a Phillips head here where I'm pointing, right there. And then there's another one just behind it, just right there. That's next to the kill switch. So we're going to disassemble those two, and then we should be able to take the throttle assembly apart. I don't know if you can see that, but shorter screw, longer screw. So short is the front, short is the back, closer to you as a rider, and then longer screw is the front. which is towards the front of the bike. So now this throttle should just kind of crack open. I've heard some things about you don't want to mess up the throttle cable too much, so I'm gonna try my best to follow what other people are saying about it. This back part popped off. And then this, oh, there we go. Actually, you don't want to disassemble it really at all. This should just slide off. We're gonna try to slide that off. It's almost there. There we go. And it is off. So it looks like, yeah, we definitely don't want to mess with that cable too much. So I'm actually gonna put the bolts back in so we can put the new handlebars on, and we'll go from there. All right, so now we've gotten to actually the main part of taking the handlebars off. That might be the opposite of how you feel about it, because really it took a lot to take off everything else before we got to take the handlebars off themselves. So, but just to keep going along with, again, the installation video, I'm noticing some things are in the way, so I'm just gonna kind of move them out slightly. But this is a 17 millimeter, and that's the size that looks to be fitting for this. So we want to go to the left to kind of crack these bars loose. I forgot I had a ratcheting wrench, so I'm going to basically use that instead. All right, now the bars, I'm hoping, just kind of slide out. There they go. They slid right out. Perfect. Looks like a bushing came out with one of them, so I'm going to put that back. We'll need to keep that with the new bars, I'm assuming. So yeah, so the bars, there they are. They came out. All right, this is just to get kind of a real difference of the two bars. So this is the stock bars here. As you can see, these are going to be a little bit taller, and then it actually is going to be a little bit more narrow as well. And then these kind of come a little bit more towards you, where the new T-bars, again from Zombie Performance, from TJ Brutal Customs website, are going to be a little bit more forward. These ones I just didn't like as far out as my arms felt. Again, it was comfortable. Definitely nothing wrong with these bars, just not my personal preference. And then as far as to get like an actual accurate width on them, as you can see, it's really going to kind of tighten up the width. Almost probably 2 to 2.5 inches on each side. So that's why I'm optimistic that these will fit on the bars without all the stock wiring and cabling. So I don't believe in this, but fingers crossed. So I'm excited to put these new bars on. And the bars do appear to be the exact same dimension as far as like the thickness, but we'll see about that as well. I know that there's 7/8 inch diameter bars, and then there's 1 inch. So I'm hoping these are 1 inch. I'm hoping that the controls and everything kind of goes right back on them. So to the next step. All right, now I'm going to try to fit the new T-bars onto the Honda Shadow. Came with two of these bolts here. As you can see, it has a washer, a lock washer, and then the bolt itself. So I'm going to try to feed it up through. Looks like it might have some issues with this, these connections here, just maybe being in the way, but I'm going to try to feed it up through and get it to go up through. As you can see, it kind of started fighting me a little bit, so we'll get through that. But let me try to actually get these through before I move on to the next step. There we go, perfect. So that's in there. And just to confirm, let's see if it's the same size. It is a different size wrench. So we're gonna try to find out which size that is. So these new bolts that we have here are actually 19. It's a 19 millimeter. I'm gonna use a 19 millimeter socket just so that it makes it a little easier. Hopefully I can fit the ratchet in there. We'll see. So I'm gonna grab a wrench just to finish this off. Those bolts are definitely on there. So we'll move on to the next step. Hopefully again, we're about to now go backwards, put on all the controls for the bars and make sure everything fits. Just like we did before, we're gonna put the throttle side of the bars back on, the throttle controls. And it looks like we're gonna have plenty of room. Look at that, it kind of meets right up to there. So I'm gonna unscrew these bolts that we took off and realign this onto the bars. So it seems as if the throttle cable ran into some issues, that the pipe may be a 1 inch and then the stock is a 7/8. But I'm gonna sand this down just to see if that helps with the fitment. And if it does, then great. That's kind of the idea. So we'll see if that helps and go from there. It's sad because they just did such a good job at painting this. Oh, it's better. It's almost there. So after much grinding, I had to sand down and grind basically this whole section here because the powder coating was basically preventing this from the throttle from turning back. Once I got that down to bare metal, it was able to slide on. But then I had an issue with the stock housing. And the stock housing, the circumference of the stock housing, and then there's not only the circumference, but there's like a little tab on the inside that it looks like a little nub. I'll try to find it in previous videos so you can see it. Basically, that little nub was preventing this housing from closing all the way. I grinded it down all the way, but there's still a minor gap, as you can see right here. Let me zoom in. So that gap right there is causing a minor issue. So I might basically I might take this whole thing apart again and then grind down the inside circumference of this housing here, just so that it can sit a little bit more flush to this piece, just because it looks like it's basically cracked open. But this nut and then the one behind it that we took off earlier are flush, they are tight. Now for this next portion, it looks like we lost audio on the main microphone I was using, but as you can see here in fast motion, we are needing to disconnect the brake cable and pull down this bracket so there's a little more slack for the brake line up closer to the handlebars when we connect to the actual brake handle and the brake reservoir. So as you can see here, we're using a socket to release the nut and then also breaking loose this kind of hugged, almost like bushing, holding onto the brake line, and we need to relocate it lower. Okay, so I got just enough. I'm gonna get my 5mm Allen wrench to remove those bolts again. These bolts here, make sure you can see them. Yeah, we're gonna remove these so we can kind of get it up and over. Might actually need to reroute the brake line entirely because it's getting stuck on that bracket. So my goal is I'm going to bring it as close to this as I can, but close as the housing as I can. But I think the issue is kind of where the throttle is going to be and where I want the brake lever. So I might have to loosen these to bring these cables up more, and then I can bring the brake lever up more. So it's kind of doing some fine tuning to what's comfortable for you. So I'm going to do that right now, get my mind fine tuned and then dialed in. I think that's kind of right where I want it, and then I'll tighten the throttle here in just a moment. Throttle's still working, brakes are on. That's good. Okay, so not terrible. Get a better look. Got the brake line on. I'm going to attach the connection. I just want to make sure down below doesn't interfere with anything right here, because that brake line's now really kind of maxed out. Overall, not terrible, not terrible. I'm actually gonna turn it this way because we're about to do the other side. All right, so this bracket we talked about needs to go back on. Because it's powder coating, I feel like we're gonna run into some issues. So I'm gonna kind of lube this up a little bit and see if that helps. I mean, it's a pretty solid piece of plastic, but might be able to kind of force it on with some lube. Now I'm going to apply some WD-40 in this bad boy, and this is going to be the fun one. That's pretty good, pretty much on there. Now let's put this connection back on. This is that little nut I was talking about that I think on the other handlebars. There might have been a hole for that, so we're probably gonna have to grind that down and open up the hole a bit to get this working again. So stay tuned for that. The piece I'm talking about is this little nub right there, and that's the same nub that was on the inside of the throttle body housing. Basically, it's just, so this is actually designed on the other handlebars. There's a drilled out hole that holds it in place. But now basically the bolts, these bolts here that we come back, we basically screw back in, that's what's going to clamp it and hold it in place. So we're going to get rid of that nub now. All right, so that's clean. It's on there. Now we're going to put the clutch lever on. So that should be just like that, just like so. We're going to put that clutch on there. So I'm going to disconnect these sections and find my 5mm, the 5mm right there. Take those off. Yeah, right about there. That'll work. I should bring the camera over so you can see this. All right, we're gonna make these connections again. So these should come really through here. And we have right and left. Those are in, and then we got to hook up the brakes again for these brake connections. Now let's put the mirrors on. All right, so this is the left mirror. Very good. These mirrors are pretty snug into that stock housing. Now we're going to get the other mirror. really kind of zoom out and see what the bars look like. Yeah, everything is on. Controls again, a little funky because of the bigger bars, but throttle's good, brakes looks good. So overall, slight modifications to the situation, but you go hard over each way. I'm not seeing any wires too tight, you know, because it's actually more loose than anything. There's plenty of play. The throttle cable here, or the clutch cable, it gets moved a little bit because there's just a lot of extra. Same thing for the throttle cable, both ways. There's just, you know, raising the bars but bringing the bars in. Definitely there's a different geometry to it. So, but overall, very satisfied. Kind of gives you that kind of, you know, legitimate Harley feel. More of an upright, not quite apes. I feel like not apes, but like the taller T-bars. But definitely works. Definitely happy with the way it turned out. Obviously, want to feel what it would be like to go on a ride. So that'll be maybe the next review. But everything's tight so far. Probably go for a ride, make sure everything is still tight when I get back, and then, you know, go from there. But overall, this is epic.